Hi everyone. As part of this session, we are going to explore replacing nulls using Spark. So the problem statement is we have an input data set that is visit details, and this is a CSV file which has these columns, that is name, age, place, expenditure and fabColor. So it gives information related to a visitor. Now, as part of the output, if there is any null present, we need to replace them in such a way that in the name column, if there is any null, we need to replace it with the string unknown. In the age column, if there is any nulls, we need to replace it with 999. And for the other columns, based on whether they are numeric, then replace it by -1. And if any of the other columns are non-numeric, that is string text columns, replace the nulls with NA. So let's have a look of the data. So this is the input data set that we have, that is visit details. So as we see, there are rows where the values are having nulls. So this is what we need to replace. So we will solve this problem in Databricks. So let's get started. As a first step, what we will do is, we will first of all start the compute. So we will have our cluster running. So let's create a new cluster. Let's give it some name. And let's leave the other properties as is and click on create compute. So meanwhile, the cluster is getting up. What we will do is, we will upload the file, like the file on which we are going to work. We will upload it in DBFS. DBFS is Databricks file system. So if we go to catalog, we should see it here, but by default it is not visible. So if we need to see that, we need to set up a property. We need to enable a property, and for that we need to scroll towards the right top, click on the mail ID that you see, and then go to the admin settings. Then click on the workspace settings and scroll down and come to DBFS file browser and enable this property. So once we enable this property, we will be able to see the Databricks file system. Yeah, let's go to catalog and see the DBFS. So in case you are still not able to see the DBFS here, try to refresh this page and then you will be able to see it under the catalog. So this is the DBFS, that is Databricks file system. So under this, there is a folder that is file store, and under this, let's upload our file. So we will upload the local file that we have, that is visit details, the file that we just saw. So we will upload this, and now we can see that the file is uploaded. Okay. Now we will go back to our notebook and start writing the code. So we will click on this plus icon that we see in the center to open a new cell. So as a first step, we will create a input data frame by reading this input data set. So let's call this as input df. So we will use the Spark read method and we will specify the format of the file. It is CSV. Then we will use the options to specify the path, specifying where this file is located. Now, to get the path, we go back to the catalog and go back to DBFS file store. And on this file, we need to click and copy the path. we need to copy the path of Spark API format. So it has been copied. Now let's go back and paste it here. And we will also specify the schema. So as we saw in the file, there is no header that is mentioned. So we will specify that here as to what are the column names. So what we will do is we will copy this and we will just specify the data type of each column. For name, it is string. Age, it is an integer. Place is a string. Expenditure is a int. And fabColor is a string. So we have specified the schema of each of the columns. Now what we will do is we will load this file. So once the file is loaded, the input data frame will get created. So let's see the data inside this data frame. Okay. Now to run the cell, we have to press Shift Enter. So let's press Shift Enter and run this. And ensure that there is a cluster attached to the notebook. So we will attach the cluster that we created and now we will press Shift Enter to run this. Okay, so we have loaded the input file. As we can see, in several of the entries, there are nulls present in various columns. So now we will work on replacing these nulls as per the business logic that is given. So we will work step by step. First, we will work on the name column to replace the nulls by unknown. So for the third and the fourth entry in the name column, we will replace these nulls by unknown string. So let's do that. So what we will do is we will operate on the input data frame and we will use na.fill. So this function we will use and we will specify what is the value that will be used to replace the nulls. And since we are targeting certain columns, we have to specify it in a collection. So we will use array and inside array, we will specify the column. So we can specify multiple columns if that is the requirement. Here we need to target only one column. So we will mention that. So let's run this part and see the output to see that if nulls are replaced in the name column with unknown string. So as we see, we have replaced the nulls in the name column with unknown string. And still in the rest of the columns, the null exists as it is. Okay. So now we will move to the next step. So next step is to replace the nulls in the age column by 999. So on similar lines as we did, we will do it for the age column. So again, what we will do is we will use na.fill. The value that we have to replace by is 999. So we will add that 999 and then we will add the column, the target column, that is age. So in age column, if there is any nulls, it will be replaced by 999s. So let's run and see the output. So as we see, the null in the age column has been replaced by 999. So if we see the input, there was only one null and that has been rightly replaced. Okay, so we are done with the second task. Now the third task is if there is any other numeric column, we need to replace the null by -1. So if we see in the input, there is another string, there is another numeric column that is expenditure and there are nulls present. So we need to replace this by -1. So let's work on that. So for that, what we will do is, we will use na.fill again and specify -1. Now here we will not mention any columns. So it will target all the numeric columns. Since the value given is numeric, hence all the columns which are numeric will be targeted. And if there are any nulls in them, it will be replaced by -1. So let's run and see the output. Okay. So as we see in the other numeric column, that is expenditure, null has been replaced by -1. So we have rightly done the correct replacement. Okay. Now we are left with the last task. That is, if there are any non-numeric, that is string columns or text columns, we need to replace them by NA. Okay. So on similar lines, what we did just now, we will use na.fill and specify the NA string. So what this means is, if we give any text or string, it will target all the string columns or the non-numeric columns. And if there are any nulls, it will replace it with this value. So let's run and see the output. Okay. So as we see, the other string column, that is fabColor, and also place. So the nulls here have been replaced by NA. So we have solved the problem. So to summarize what we have done, we have targeted the name column and replaced the nulls with particular string that is unknown. Then we have targeted the age column and replaced the nulls with 999. After that, for all the other numeric columns, that is expenditure, we have replaced the nulls by -1. And for all the non-numeric columns, we have replaced the nulls with NA. So this way we have solved the problem using na.fill. And just to summarize how we have gone over to the solution. First of all, we have used the read API of Spark to read the CSV file and specified the schema, specifying which are the columns, what is their data type, and we have loaded it. Then we explored what is the data in them in the input data set. After that, as per the requirement, we have gone ahead targeting the name column to replace the nulls by unknown. Then we have targeted the age column, replacing the nulls by 999s. And finally, we have targeted the other numeric columns and other non-numeric column to replace with -1 and NA respectively. And this way we have solved the problem. So please go through it. The input data set will be provided as part of the description. If you found the video useful, please like it,
comment,
please
and
subscribe the channel if you have not yet subscribed, and please share the video in your circle so that more people can benefit. Thank you.